All right, we have a new trade update around Patrick Williams. We're going to be talking about this most recent update around Patrick Williams and if the Chicago Bulls are going to move on from Patrick Williams this season. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so today, around this new recent report that we're hearing, this comes from the Chicago Sun-Times, and this is Joe Cowley. And so I guess reportedly he's saying, a source is saying that AK is more open now than ever to moving on from Patrick Williams, perhaps thinking that a new change in scenery might be what is best. And so let's start with Patrick Williams and just, his struggles. And so first, if this is true, I think that this is good for the Chicago Bulls, that they're realizing that, it's just maybe not going to work here with Chicago, and maybe it is a better destination for Patrick Williams. And then obviously we know if you're going to make a deal, and I've said this before, it has to make sense for the franchise, and it has to be something that really moves you forward. But I think it is good to see that AK is maybe acknowledging that this is just maybe not going to work. And so with Patrick Williams and his struggles, look, Patrick Williams has really struggled, I think, as a scorer. He hasn't taken the next step. He hasn't gone past 10 points a game. He's still really struggling as far as rebounding the basketball. In fact, in last night's game, he had 5 points, 0 rebounds. He also had 1 assist and 2 blocks, but he was negative 17 in the plus-minus box score, which was actually the worst amongst the starters. And so, we've seen that in a couple games this year with Patrick Williams. And for whatever reason, I'm not sure what is happening, but he continues to miss a bunch of easy stuff, like the dunks that he's missing. Like, I don't know if that maybe has something to do with the injuries, like because he is coming back from the foot injury. I did talk about this before, during the preseason. I thought it was interesting that, we were seeing videos from Zach Lavine. We were seeing videos from Lonzo Ball, but we really didn't see any open runs from Patrick Williams. And so, I wonder, just how long it took him to really get that foot together. And he's already missed some time this year due to some discomfort in the foot. So I wonder if he's still maybe struggling with that. I don't know. Who knows? I don't want to make an excuse, but I'm just saying that could be something that maybe is factoring in. And so with the injury concerns, and we also know that he's had injury history. And so I think another thing too with his struggles, and I think what is really alarming about Patrick Williams, and this I think kind of plays into maybe, what the trade would look like, but his new role, all right? Because a lot of things that we're hearing around Patrick Williams is, okay, last season it was DeMar DeRozan, maybe was in the way and him having to play out of position and everything else. Well, look, this is an entirely new year. It's an entirely new offense that wants to get up and down the floor. It wants to utilize the three-point shot, that is something that Patrick Williams does. He shoots the three ball. And also, too, he was supposed to come in, he'd be the better defender on the team. And so there's opportunities for him to get steals, get blocks, get boards, and kind of get out in transition. And that hasn't happened. And so, look, he's had pretty much a new runway with this offense. And it just hasn't really fit in with this youth movement, which I think is very concerning, which I think that is why it really, I guess it adds up to maybe what AK is maybe thinking. Hopefully, as far as building this team out, that if you're trying to build out this youth movement around several players and he's just not fitting into that, then that would suggest that you move on. And so, there's also too, I think I have 4 things down for Patrick Williams that I was wanting to see if he could do it this season, and think maybe he could, if he did these things, he could really take the next step. And that was, could he get consistent? Could he get aggressive? Could he get better? And could he get some real confidence? And honestly, I don't think that he's necessarily gotten any of those things. He certainly hasn't gotten consistent. You'll see nights where he'll score 10, you'll see nights he'll score 14, and then you'll see nights like we saw last night where he'll score 5 points. He hasn't gotten consistent with grabbing rebounds. That hasn't happened. His three-point shot is actually starting to really kind of taper off a little bit, and defensively he's struggling there. So the consistency hasn't been there for this season. The aggressive thing that we're looking for from Patrick Williams, we haven't seen him be assertive, right? I know that, he's pretty laid back on the court or whatnot, but he just really hasn't, taken the basketball, really gone to the rim with some authority, or just really came out and just really just imposed his will on a game. So he hasn't gotten aggressive here with the Chicago Bulls. And then just, again, getting better, he hasn't taken those steps forward. I just talked about, just some of the basic stats, but the confidence seems to waver with Patrick Williams as well, because it just seems like maybe some days he has it, some days he doesn't. So the confidence is just not there. And it's just disappointing, I think, amongst Bulls fans, because with this youth movement, I felt like it really would open the door up for him to really take off. Talking about that runway, the usage rate and everything else, you would suggest it would be at a high, but it just hasn't happened with Patrick Williams. And so, with that being said, do I think that he is going to get traded? I'm not sure about that. I don't think that I necessarily buy Patrick Williams getting traded, at least at this particular deadline, because with 3 weeks to go, Patrick Williams is actually, if you're looking at his trade stock, I think that it's really down. And so I would say, well, how are you going to revamp that? And I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, because look, if it were say Zach Lavine and Vooch, those guys are playing well. It was a whole bunch of stuff like, oh, they can't be traded and, the trade value's low and stuff like that. They've come in and played well. I don't see Patrick Williams necessarily, hitting that switch. And I mean, I get maybe there's some teams out there that are probably saying, okay, look, we can get him into our system and we can really get him to take off or whatever. I mean, I guess that's fine. But are you going to get the max value for him right now? I'm not sure. It might be a situation where they might try to lowball the Bulls, and you don't want to do that, because I get that you've invested the 5 years and you're probably seeing here in year one that it's not going to work out long term. That's fine. But even if the trade value maybe is low, or he's just his trade stock is not as high, I still don't think that you go ahead and you sell low on him. And this goes for any of the players on the Chicago Bulls. I don't think that you sell low like that. I think that you can kind of get yourself into trouble as far as the long term is concerned, especially when you're trying to maybe get draft assets and things like that. You want to maximize that. And so anyway, let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this most recent information. Keep in mind, I mean, it is Joe Cali and saying that, from sources, right? So we don't know. So, who knows? Anyway, but just let me know in the comments, do you think that, yes, the Chicago Bulls will go on and ultimately move on from Patrick Williams this season? Do you feel like, no, you know what, Patrick Williams is probably going to be with us for at least, maybe a season or two before maybe the Bulls make some real moves with him? So let me know. I just want to thank everybody out there for liking, sharing, and subscribing to the content. It means a lot to us here at Bulls Digest as we try to reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season out there. Want to let you know about 66.8% of you that watch are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure you slam dunk on that subscribe button for us, as that means a lot as we try to reach our subscriber count. And so, look, I guess to end this, I'm not necessarily shocked at the fact that maybe AK is putting Patrick Williams on the table. This is something that we had already heard, that the Chicago Bulls are really maybe shopping a lot of different players. We've heard Kobe White, we've heard Ayo, we've heard Vooch, we've heard Lavine, and we had already heard something with Patrick Williams. I just think that this maybe puts it out there a little bit more, but it's not shocking necessarily with this situation. I just think it's going to be interesting what the Chicago Bulls do. And like I've always said, whatever they're going to do via trade, free agency, whatever, it has to be something with a plan, with a purpose that actually makes sense for this roster to get out of the middle. All right, let me know in the comments. I will see you guys on the next one. Go Bulls. All right, peace.